episode 128, the Podfest 2018 show. Well, I just got back from Podfest Multimedia Expo 2018 in Orlando, Florida, and today I'm going to share my experience and takeaways from the event, dedicated to helping podcasters and content creators. And you are listening to episode number 128 of Mike Murphy Unplugged. Learn, create, move forward. I am your host, Mike Murphy. I'm a one-man band. I'm a technology junkie. I love helping people figure things out, and I am really excited to be here with you today. The goal of Mike Murphy Unplugged, it is to help you learn what you need to know in order to create online content so you can move forward in business and in life. So episode 128 today is going to be a breakdown of Podfest Multimedia Expo 2018. It was held at Wyndham Resort in Orlando, Florida from February 8th through February 10th, 2018. I'll start the episode with an explanation of what Podfest is, who it is for, so you can determine if it is something that you should try to attend next year. Why did I attend Podfest for the third year in a row? What were my goals and expectations for attending Podfest 2018? And what did I learn or take away from the event that I can apply to my podcast or my business? What is Podfest Multimedia Expo? It is an educational and training conference for independent podcasters created by Chris and Katie Krimitsos, originated in Tampa, but moved to Orlando to attract a more international audience. The first year I attended the event, it was very small, really geared towards helping beginner podcasters. It is now for podcasters of all experience levels, and for the first year ever, they introduced a YouTube track for people like myself interested in creating video content. So Podfest 2018 was technically 3 days long, but there was a bonus day before the event started, so that was really 4 days for me. I got the early bird pricing, so my ticket was $249, and my hotel room at the Wyndham Resort was $139 per night. All in all, the event cost me just over $1,000, and I can now say with confidence that it was worth every penny of the investment. Now let's look at the schedule. I have noted this in every recap of Podfest so far, but what impresses me the most is just how organized and on time the event is about everything. Chris Krimitsos is an incredible event planner and organizer and pays attention to every detail. But what I think distinguishes him the most is the detail he is most concerned about is the attendee's experience. That's me. This is a big deal to me, and I noticed it the same way I notice good customer service. Subtle, but every morning you get an email with the schedule, which really helps because I'm not a good pre-planner. Every class starts exactly on time and ends on time. There is always a Podfest staff nearby to answer questions, and the whole event is designed to make the attendees feel welcomed, and more importantly, meet and interact with as many people as possible. Many events I have attended leave it all up to you to fend for yourself, but Podfest is the exact opposite. The whole conference is set up to make it really easy on the attendee to learn a lot and talk and hand out a lot of business cards. It is set up for your success. I think Podfest also does a really good job of not making you feel like you are always missing out on something else that's going on in the conference. For example, at Podcast Movement, which I went to in Anaheim, there was always so many different classes going on at the same time, but you could only be in one place at the same time. So I always had to make that hard decision of which one did I think would be better off at that moment, and hope that I was right. Anyone who knows me well knows that I do not like many choices, aka restaurant menus, especially when they're all good options. Podfest has a really nice balance where the bigger keynote speakers or sessions that everyone can get value from, they're all held in the main room where everyone attends the same class. No choices. Everybody wins. My style. Then there are breakout sessions of more specialty topics that were very well rounded, and there were a few instances where I really had to make a hard choice between the two. I never felt like I was missing out. I know that there are options to pay for the recordings of events like Podfest and Podcast Movement, and that is a smart way to go if you want to make sure you see everything. But the reality is, I don't want to pay for the recordings. Once I go to the conference is over for me, so I'm probably not going to go back and watch. The Podfest schedule is jam-packed and tight. There are not a lot of breaks from start to finish. You are exhausted by the last session of the day. So why did I go? 2018 was my third year attending Podfest. I even got a special tag on my name showing off my alum status. But in 2016, I went as a new podcaster, looking for advice and ideas about podcasting in general, and to get my name in front of a community of podcasters. The next year, 2017, I went with more focus on my business, Mike Murphy LLC, and less to learn about podcasting. I wanted to be around people who were having success with their podcast and or business and absorb and learn as much as I could. And if I was in a position to help someone, then maybe I would generate some new business opportunities. For 2018, this year, it was all about the networking for me. I know the direction I want to take Mike Murphy LLC, and I've been on the scene now for a few years creating consistent, helpful content. So my main goal for Podfest 2018 was to build new and stronger relationships in the content creation space that I know I'm going to be in for a long time. And probably the biggest reason why I've gone all 3 years now is because Podfest is attracting this really kind and friendly community of podcasters and creators and entrepreneurs that genuinely want to help each other out. It's pretty awesome. It's unlike anything I've ever experienced at a conference, and I know it has a lot to do with the organizer and the people involved in the event, but it is a big reason why Podfest will be on my calendar year after year. Inspirational rant time. I said in last year's recap of Podfest, but if you are on a similar journey as me, trying to create the life you want, you cannot do it all on your own, and the secret to everything in life involves people connecting with people and making things happen. I have said this many times, but I really struggle with attending conferences and events because it is difficult for me to go from conversation to conversation. I get kind of tired of talking and being social, quite honestly. I love people, but why do you think I resonate with the term one-man band? I would much rather sit in the back of the room and people watch and observe and learn as much as possible just by watching people interact. The whole year leading up to an event like this, I get really excited. And then, as soon as I enter the hotel and see groups of people all congregating and talking, I get this knot in my stomach, as if I don't want to be here anymore. I don't know why it happens, it just does. It might never change about me, but I ignore it, and I shut it down, and I remind myself why I came, and to suck it up and do my best. Everyone says the magic happens outside of your comfort zone, so keep that in mind. I think it just might be true. No excuses. Go to industry events when you have the chance. I went to Podfest 2018 to be around podcasters, creators, creatives, personal brands, people who share similar interests and goals as me. Creative entrepreneurs who are working hard and learning from each other and trying to make a dent in the universe some way or somehow. There is power in numbers, and when the numbers are filled with like-minded creators on a similar journey, well, it is impossible not to learn and be inspired by attending events such as Podfest. So my takeaways from the event, besides a doozy of a cold that you are likely hearing, what did I learn or take away from Podfest 2018? There were tons of things, but here are 4 that really stood out to me. Number 1, collaboration is key for my success. 2, honest feedback needs to be a priority. 3, being authentic really is powerful. And 4, undervaluing my skills and talents is not an option. Number 1, collaboration. On the very first night at the meet and greet for early attendees, I spoke with someone who I knew was very successful in business and online marketing. He gave me so many helpful nuggets of wisdom for running a business, but the one thing that really stood out, he told me to put more emphasis on reaching out to bigger businesses and influencers and offer solutions to help them. The person I was speaking with was somewhat familiar with my tutorials and video work. He knew I had skills and talents that people really needed. But what he recognized was that I needed the attention and to let people know what I can do to help them, and other people will help me get that attention I need. The reason this was a big takeaway was because I trusted his judgment and knew he was right, and it was something that I will consciously work harder at doing. Takeaway number 2, feedback. I have been reading the book Principles by Ray Dalio, and he credits honest feedback of one of the main reasons he and his $150 billion company is successful. In another conversation, but still at that same meet and greet party, an avid podcast listener searched for my podcast, Mike Murphy Unplugged, on his Android phone and asked if he would find my email address or Twitter handle as soon as he opened up my show notes. I said, probably not. But I did have a link to my show notes and do mention my show on how to reach me for feedback, but I immediately knew where he was going with this conversation. He was a tech junkie like myself, passionate about content, and when he listens to podcasts and something strikes a nerve or the podcaster poses a challenge or question, He wants to respond to that podcaster on the spot and does not want to have to go digging for the contact information. Now, this made a lot of sense to me on many levels, and I believe that a lack of feedback has actually held me back from a lot of progress in my business. Without feedback, I do not know what people want, and I do not know if what I'm making is good or bad or indifferent. Feedback is everything if coming from the right place. So my takeaway was to create new ways or calls to action to ask for feedback and to get the conversation started, and to make it really easy for people to be able to get in touch with me and leave me feedback whenever they think of something they want to share. Takeaway 3, being authentic is powerful. We all know this. This is not a new concept, something I believe in wholeheartedly. But I watched a presentation from a YouTuber. He was funny, he was a little eccentric, but he was fumbling with his PowerPoint presentation. He was kind of nervous. It was clear he was just not comfortable. Yet his message was really good. And about 10 to 15 minutes into his presentation, after trying to do a really good job, he threw his notes in the air, he swore, and then said, "You know what? I don't know how to teach with slides and all this stuff. I'm just going to be me, if that's okay with you." And the remainder of his talk was awesome. I physically felt a sense of relief, and the entire room had this incredible shift of energy, as if to say, "Oh, finally. Someone who is just going to tell it like it is, rather than going through the motions of practice speech." It was amazing, and it was such a powerful moment in the conference for me, because I realized that all people want is you, not all the packaging and the fancy stuff that we often think is so important. So you really don't need much to make great podcasts or great videos or write great books and great articles and make great products, because the only thing people are really concerned about and what they are really buying into is you. And takeaway number 4, undervaluing. Are you charging what you are worth? Do you know how valuable your skills and talents are to others? Do you believe that you are a premium service? This is my Achilles heel. I struggle with this, as do many of you. I have confidence in everything I do for people, yet I do not like charging people, and I usually do way more than they paid for. This is how businesses fail. And I know this, but I am honest with it, and I have this problem, and I am working to overcome it. Well, Podfest 2018 smacked me in the face, in a good way, thanks to a few people who really called me out on it, and they were looking out for me. And while again, it was not anything new or surprising, I left with a whole new perspective and confidence in myself and a way of dealing with it. And that way of dealing with it is simply with practice and getting better at sales 101 and getting better at asking the right questions of clients and getting better at communicating my message and communicating the problems that I'm able to solve for people. What is obvious to me is not only amazing, but is also valuable to others. Lessons like these can be learned in books or on YouTube, but the power of a conference like Podfest 2018 with real people all helping each other out is on a whole nother level. In conclusion, Podfest is an annual event currently being held in sunny Orlando, Florida, and one that I highly recommend for new and experienced podcasters and those of you creating an online business producing new media, including YouTube. The event is getting bigger each year, but there is an intimate sense of community and people helping one another that is a really big deal. Podfest and conferences in general can help you solve technical or business problems, but can also create friendships and clients and business opportunities that you can just not do on social media. I went to Podfest 2018 just excited to be around like-minded creative people and maybe learn a few new tricks, play with some new microphones, or be inspired by some great people. I was not disappointed, and I made some great new friends and connections. And my biggest takeaways that I plan on implementing immediately are 1. Seek more collaborations. Who do I want to work with and what can I bring to the table? 2. Work at getting feedback, making it easier for you to respond with better show notes and more calls to action. 3. Continue to be myself at all costs. Elevate it, actually. For me, this is more storytelling and sharing my journey the way I do in Instagram stories, but put it out for more people to see. And finally, reminding myself to value what I do in my work. What I do and what I offer is valuable to those who need it. Same goes for you. And I will see you next year at Podfest 2019. I thank you for joining me today. I hope you join my one-man band, and together we can learn, create, and move forward. Cheers.